Hello, everyone. Today we are going to cover Unit 5, Lesson 8, which is multiplication and division expressions. Now, this lesson is almost exactly the same as the lesson that we did for Lesson 7, which was addition and subtraction expressions. The only difference for this lesson that instead of adding and subtracting, now we're going to multiply or divide. So that's the only difference in today's lesson. So just like we did in yesterday's lesson, Lesson 7, what we're going to do is we're going to first determine what the rule is for our set of numbers, and then we're going to extend that rule and figure out what the number would be if it came next. So let's go ahead and first take the first step. The first step is to figure out what the rule is, what we're doing to these numbers in order to get, from the first to the second. So what I'm going to do is we're going to say Sheena, we're going to say she's S, and we'll say Julie is J. Now, let's take a look at our first set of numbers. So we start with 6, and we get to 18. Well, I want to figure out if I start at 6, how can I end up with 18? Well, I'm getting bigger as I get to my second number, so I'm either going to add or multiply. If I add or multiply, I get bigger. If I am getting smaller, I subtract or divide. So I could either add 12 or I could multiply by 3. Either of those would get me from 6 to 18. Now, hint, hint, hint for this lesson. You're multiplying and dividing, so I can tell you right now that adding 12 isn't the right answer. But on your test, you're not going to have that option. On your test, you're going to have to say what the rule is. It's not going to tell you if you add, subtract, or if you multiply, divide. So we'll just play this one through. So now what I want to do is I want to look at the next set of numbers. I want to see which one of these rules works for my second set of numbers. So if I start with 12, if I add 12, do I end up with 36? No. If I add 12, I get 24. So this probably isn't the rule. So let's check multiply by 3. If I start with 12, do I end up with 36 if I multiply by 3? Yes. So we think this is our rule, but remember, we always double check with a third set of numbers. So I'm going to double check. 14 times 3, does that give me 42? Well, let's check it out if we don't know off the top of our heads. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. So yes. All right. So what is our rule? Let's put it in an expression. So let's use a variable, an operation, and a number in order to give ourselves a rule. Where our rule is we take whatever Sheena has, S, we multiply it by 3, and that gives us what Julie has. So whatever S is, whatever Sheena has, if you multiply it by 3, you end up with Julie's number. Let's try it with 25. So what if Sheena had 25? We'll say 25 necklaces. So what if Sheena had 25 necklaces? How many would Julie then have? So all I'm going to do is take the number that Sheena has, which we know, that's 25. I'm going to erase the S in my equation, put in the 25, and now I have 25 times 3 equals the amount of necklaces that Julie has. Well, 25 times 3 is 75. So if Sheena has 25 necklaces, Julie will have 75. So don't get confused by this fancy equation. It's really not fancy. If you just think for a second, well, what do those letters represent? It represents whatever Sheena has, multiply that times 3, and you get what Julie has. So it's really not that hard to understand if you just think of it kind of, like that. What are those letters representing? Let's try another one. Same thing. We have Sheena, S, Julie, J. So same thing. First step I have to do is to figure out the rule. So I'm going to take a look. I have 6, and I end up with 3. Well, I'm starting with 6. I'm going to 3, so my number's getting smaller. So I'm going to either subtract or divide. That's how we get smaller. I can either subtract 3 from 6 to get 3, or I can divide by 2. All right, let's check out the second set of information to figure out which one of these rules works. So 12, if I subtract 3, that doesn't give me 6. So this rule probably doesn't work. 12 divided by 2 does give me 6, but I need to double check with a third set of information. If I have 14 and I divide 2, that definitely gives me 7, so I'm good. Let's try with this number. What if Sheena, and we'll use necklaces again. What if Sheena has 36 necklaces? How many then will Julie have? Let's first write down the rule as a numeric expression, an algebraic expression. So remember, an expression is a fancy way of saying a math problem. So for this expression, I need a variable, which is the letter, an operation, add, subtract, multiply, or divide, and then I need a number. So I know that my rule is take whatever Sheena has. We know that our rule was divided by 2, and then you end up with whatever Julie has. So S divided by 2 equals J. It sounds fancy. In fact, tell your parents, hey, did you know that for this math problem, S divided by 2 equals J? And they'll think, wow, you're learning some real fancy math there. But really, it's just saying take whatever Sheena has. This is Sheena. Divide it by 2, and you get Julie. J-U-L-I-E. And you get Julie. So now I'm going to substitute in what I know. Well, in this case, I know that Sheena has 36, we'll say, necklaces. So 36 divided by 2 will tell me what this missing number is, what Julie has. Well, 36 divided by 2, if you can't do it in your head, write it out. 2 goes into 3 one time. That gives me 2. If I subtract it, I get 1. It's less than 2, so I can bring down my 6, and I have 16. 2 goes into 16 8 times with no remainders. So 36 divided by 2 equals 18. So S divided by 2 equals J. 36 divided by 2 equals 18. All right. Excellent job today, guys. Another easy lesson. If you guys were able to do the adding and subtracting expressions for lesson 7, then you guys will be able to rock out this lesson. Go ahead and do your practice problems, and I'll see you for our lesson.